Hume Zone segment tonight, speaking at CPAC on Saturday, Sarah Palin said this.
The last thing we need is Washington, D.C. vetting our candidates. The architects can head on back to... They can head on back to the great Lone Star State and put their name on some ballot.
I'd say if I did run for office and win, I'd serve out my term. I wouldn't leave office midterm.
Oh, Mr. Rove referring to Governor Palin resigning as governor of Alaska in 2009. Obviously, no love lost there. Joining us now from Miami, Fox News senior political analyst, Brady Hume. First of all, Hume, the material in that sweater, did you borrow that from Hillary Clinton's pantsuit?
Hey, this is my South Beach look, Bill. Don't knock it.
Yeah, I can just see you in South Beach. I can, you know, I'm going to send Waters down to follow you around in South Beach. That's a classic.
I'll introduce you to some people, Bill.
Yeah, just give me a call tonight about 2 a.m. from Liquid. All right, just do that for me.
Yeah.
All right.
I have no idea where that is.
We'll get you, man. Palin versus Rove. Now, this epitomizes, does it not, the split in the Republican Party, the Tea Party Palin against the moderate Rove.
Well, it symbolizes whatever split there is. I think it's much ado about not much, and here's why. These are the kinds of skirmishes that can happen in a party after a disappointing loss in a big election, which is what we're looking at here. These two, you'll notice, are not quarreling over ideas. It's not that their positions on the issues vary widely. This is a question about whether Karl Rove should be applying his strategic knowledge to the campaign or whether that job should fall to somebody else. And in the end, it doesn't really matter because the strategy and tactics of the upcoming campaign, which is still years away, will be decided upon by the candidate and that candidate's team. So, you know, this is just sort of after-action skirmishing, I think, and I don't.
But isn't there more to it? Isn't there a purity issue in the Republican Party now, where Sarah Palin and some other very committed conservatives think that Karl Rove isn't pure enough to be a Republican? He's kind of a sellout, a watered-down guy, the rhino thing. Republican in name only. Isn't that still in play?
Yeah, that's been a feature of Republican Party politics for as long as I can remember, and there was always a segment of the party for whom no one is conservative enough. There was listen, when Ronald Reagan was president, the people who represented what they thought was the real Republican wing of the Republican Party often complained about him, that he wasn't conservative enough to suit them either. Sarah Palin, despite having bailed out of public office, still has a following in the Republican Party, and if you criticize her, you hear about it. But so does Karl Rove, and he has influence with a lot of people who are prepared to put money behind his strategic thinking. And the mistake that was made here that got Rove into this trouble, in my judgment, is that when he and his group decided they were going to try to have some influence in these primaries, they announced that. And to the people who felt that Rove represented the failures of the Bush years and so on, that was a red flag, and you're seeing the reaction to it.
Okay, but having talked to Karl Rove many, many times on this program, I can tell you that he's a guy who doesn't want a conservative litmus test to limit some candidates who may be more moderate and appeal to a wider circle. He doesn't want that kind of a party, where I think Sarah Palin does want it. And I think Republicans are going to have to come to grips with that.
Well, they're going to have to decide in some cases whether they're willing to settle for a candidate who has a better chance of winning, who may not be as pure on
right,
conservative.
And that's what the Romney situation was all about, and Romney failed. So now the conservatives are emboldened now.
Well, they are, but they are congenitally unhappy. I mean, I've been covering this stuff for decades now, and there are people in the Republican Party and in the conservative movement who are seldom happy except with certain candidates. And if those candidates get nominated and have to go on and make the compromises that politicians make, they end up unhappy with them as well. This is just part of the landscape.
Right. And I think history shows the two most extreme candidates in recent times were Barry Goldwater and George McGovern, and both got hammered. So I think you're right.